did a rundown of the offensive coordinators hired in the SEC, and there are a total of 10, which is just a whoppingly large number. And a handful of them are on Tennessee's schedule, so certainly they'll be a factor. We talked about Mike Bobo to replace Todd Monken, who left for the NFL. And we'll talk to Mike Griffith of Dog Nation later in the program about Bobo's hiring. But there are other programs that are on Tennessee's schedule that have hired new offensive coordinators. And let me throw those at you. There's Alabama. The Crimson Tide goes with Tommy Rees from Notre Dame, more of a pro style. I think that clearly signifies some uncertainty in Nick Saban's mind as to what direction he wants to go. Just the beginning of last year, he still wanted to run the spread. He still wanted to run tempo. He still wanted to do those sorts of things that Lane Kiffin taught him way back when. But now it's a shift in style. So I give Tennessee the advantage in that regard. I give Tennessee the advantage over Bobo. South Carolina, Dow Logans replaces Marcus Satterfield, who left for Nebraska. I'm going to keep harping on this, and South Carolina fans, you can continue to be mad at me, but Shane Beamer is not the guy there. I know how they finished the season. He's not a long-term answer that's going to lead you to a championship. It's part of the reason Satterfield bolted. And I don't like the rest of that coaching staff. I'm not crazy about Dow Logans either because he left Arkansas to join the Gamecocks. Did the Razorbacks blow anybody away on offense last year? If you're watching, no. Texas A&M hires Bobby Petrino. Again, the motorcycle accident is goofy. We can have fun and make fun of that. But it's another pro-style guy. Does that blow anybody away? Meanwhile, Tennessee stick to its guns, and they're going to stick with the offense they've had that's been successful by promoting Joey Halsley to offensive coordinator. And don't even question the fact that this is Josh Heupel's offense. Kentucky goes with Liam Cohen for the second time, which is odd. He's been with the Los Angeles Rams twice. He has been with Kentucky now twice. The Cats in his final season at Kentucky in 2021, they finished 10-3, but no incredible offense. I didn't see anything that season that blew me away, and they were fifth in the SEC in scoring offense. Missouri, Kirby Moore from Fresno State. He's related to Dallas Cowboys offensive Kellen Moore. That's about all you need to know with him. And Elijah Drinkwitz headed up that offense and didn't have an offensive coordinator. He's still going to medal. This hire does nothing for me. So as far as the teams on Tennessee's schedule, man, I like what Tennessee has done, just standing pat, a lot better than any of these other guys. If I had to pick a second, man, I don't even know who the second would be. I guess Tommy Rees, but you're switching to pro style and changing midstream. But I'll tell you, I think Tennessee offensively is in far better shape than anybody on their schedule based off those coordinator hires. So there we go. Your thoughts. We'll get Caleb Calhoun back, and go ahead and give us your thoughts on what you think of the other offensive coordinator hires and who might stand out, because right now I think it's Tennessee. We'll bring Caleb back in here. So out of that group, Caleb, who stands out to you? Who's second best? If Tennessee's number one, which is my belief, who is number two out of that group? I'd probably go with Tommy Rees at Alabama.
You know, I wanted to go with Kirby Moore, but you talked me into the fact that this is Elijah Drinkwitz's offense, which is that's apologies to Missouri that it's his offense, but it is. And so you talked me into it. I'm going to go Tommy Rees in Alabama, but I'm with you. I don't think any of these hires are good. I think the best offensive coordinator hire outside, in the SEC, Tennessee doesn't play this year, which was Philip Montgomery coming from Tulsa to join Hugh Freeze's offense at Auburn. I think that was a good hire. But nobody Tennessee plays made a good OC hire. Now, to be fair, Tennessee didn't play the team who made the worst OC hire this year, which would be Arkansas hiring Dan Enos. That was a terrible hire. And so Tennessee's not lucky in getting to play that. For those of you who don't know, Dan Enos was Brett Bielema's offense coordinator from 2015 to 2017. I don't know why Arkansas wants to go back to the Brett Bielema days, but whatever. They hired Sam Pittman, and we're hoping to get away from that. But I think that of those, the ones you named, I want to give Liam Cohen a break and say that wasn't a bad hire just because I saw what he did at Kentucky in 2021. I know Will Levis was there and everybody thinks he's a top 10 draft pick, but he's at least proven that he can be successful at Kentucky. And so I don't think that was a bad hire. But yeah, everybody else, I mean, I think Tennessee's in great position. Look, I think Mike Bobo is a terrible hire, honestly. I don't think he's a good offensive coach. I'm just going to say it. I don't think he's a good offensive coach. I think you might take his playing days at quarterback over that.
Yeah. Travis says Petrino. I want to get to that. Brought to you by Andy Mason Real Estate. AndyMasonRealEstate.com. If you need real estate in Knoxville, Andy Mason is the answer. AndyMasonRealEstate.com. His group has over 40 years of experience in real estate right there in Knoxville. Don't go with somebody that's going to end up costing you thousands or tens of thousands of dollars. AndyMasonRealEstate.com. Check them out. Petrino. Travis, I'm going to respectfully disagree. I think if we're talking about Petrino 10, 15 years ago, he brought a pro-style type of offense to college, and it was really clean, and it was really good, and it worked. But I think that's antiquated at this point. Travis goes on to say his experience is going to make a difference unless his ego takes over. Here's the other issue, and that may be true. I think he can have them at least efficient, but are they going to be explosive? I would argue not. Here's the other thing. Jimbo Fisher's an offensive coach. So you could have a similar situation to Missouri in which you've got too many cooks in the kitchen. We saw that blow up at Tennessee in 2008, and it could very well blow up at Missouri or Texas A&M. And there's a lot of pressure on Texas A&M. So I don't see Petrino bringing the Aggies up to the level of which Jimbo Fisher's contract would demand.
I don't either. And Dave, I'm going to ask you a quick question. Is the Bobby Petrino and Jimbo Fisher are both play callers? Is the days of play calling, is that outdated nowadays when you don't let your quarterback make the call?
I think play calling is the most overrated aspect of all of coaching. I believe that wholeheartedly. I believe if you have a game plan in place, the play calls should basically take care of themselves. And there are key situations in game management and play calling. But let's even say a 2-point conversion. You got to get a 2-point conversion. If you're going up to the line of scrimmage and you haven't practiced that play 15,000 times leading up to that 2-point conversion, then you got a problem. You should already know what that is. I think play calling is one of the most overrated things, to be real honest with you, in all of sports. I think most of the time you know what the play call should be based off what you're recognizing from a formational standpoint of what a defense is doing. I mean, I just don't think there are a lot of times that – how many times do you think, seriously, Caleb, that you could say run or pass or run or pass? I mean, that's not that difficult. You know ball, you could probably be 75, 80%.
Yeah.
I just don't think there's David Cutcliffe told me that once, and I thought long about it. And I don't think if you've got everything set with a game plan, I don't think play calling is all that important.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And that's where I think Jimbo Fisher and Bobby Petrino are outdated. They both run pro-style offenses where they're the play callers. And they were great at a time in an era of college football where their play calling was pretty good. But I'm with you. Coaches don't beat people anymore by out play calling them. Honestly, I don't think that's a thing. And I used to think it was, but I'm with you. And that's why they both fell by the wayside. Jimbo Fisher is on his last leg. And Bobby Petrino got fired by Louisville because, you can kind of – I've always believed this. I said this is why, for people who want to know the NFL, Cam Cameron got fired by Baltimore back in 2012, and then Baltimore went and won the Super Bowl, and then Cam Cameron went to LSU and got Les Miles fired because he was a micromanaging play caller. If you are the play caller and you call every single play nonstop and don't let your quarterback audible or do anything, which Jimbo Fisher and Bobby Petrino and Cam Cameron do, defenses can scheme around that. They can figure out your tendencies, and they're going to figure out your tendencies. They can disguise coverages. And I think that's what's happened with Fisher and Petrino I think this is going to be a disaster. I mean, I could feasibly see 4-8, 3-9 for Texas A&M, and Jimbo Fisher is finally fired and walks away with $50 million or whatever.
Now, Caleb, you said you hated the Bobo hire. I want to be clear because Smoky Mountain Red did point something out. He averaged in the high 30s while at Georgia. Yes, he did. So I'm not saying that Bobo's an awful hire. I just thought it was a bland hire made by a defensive coach that wants his program to be based around defense, that wants his defense to be well rested, unlike Tennessee. Tennessee's the other direction. They're built around offense. I just thought it was kind of a bland hire. I would have been much more concerned for Tennessee's sake had they gone out and hired an Alex Golish type, a guy that had overseen an incredible offense. I think that would have been scary for Tennessee. I just thought it was a blah hire. I'm not saying it's a horrible hire. They're still going to have better talent than everybody else, so they'll be fine.